Hey everybody, welcome to this video talking about how to use vagus nerve stimulation to assist in healing relationship dynamics. If you haven't been here before, my name is Carissa Conrad and I'm a doctor of physical therapy and therapeutic pain specialist, and I am the vagus nerve PT. A large part of my practice these days is nervous system regulation coaching. I work with people with many different health conditions, including long COVID and chronic fatigue syndrome, as well as other chronic health conditions, chronic pain, etc. And relationship comes up a lot in conversation, right? So I wanted to do a video talking today about a little bit about my own process of healing, the way that I behave in relationship, how I used vagus nerve stimulation to enhance that, and how you can use that as well, especially from the perspective of attachment theory. So first of all, I just want to do a little brief overview of the way that I was taught to heal my patterns of behavior, my trauma wounds, etc. So if you look at this painting, I know you can only see part of it, but if I tell you, look for the blue parts in that painting, your brain very quickly finds the blue, right? If you look at a bookshelf and you say, find all the yellow books, your brain will go boom, 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 right? It finds the yellow books really quickly. So the way that I was taught to heal things was to ask big questions and my brain will find solutions. So, case in point, beginning of this year, probably about around February, March, it came to me that I needed to start understanding more about relationship dynamics, more about how to heal my own part in unhealthy dynamics in relationships, and I decided I wanted to know. So first of all, because I use vagus nerve stimulation on a regular basis, my nervous system is more regulated, and I am able to look at my patterns of behavior with a more objective viewpoint, rather than getting caught in the habitual patterns of thinking, because we do that when we're in survival mode. We get stuck in our patterns of thinking. So I said, okay, I want to understand this. I want to understand relationships. I want to understand why partners do what they do. Why do we have these dynamics with people? Why do we repeat the same dynamics over and over again in subsequent relationships? And when I asked those questions, things started popping out at me. So I was scrolling through on YouTube one day, and I saw a video from somebody that I'd never watched a video from before, who was talking about attachment theory. And in her video, she mentioned a book, and one of the books seemed to stick in my brain more than a couple of the other books that she mentioned. And so I bought the book, and it was called Attached, and I will link that in my description today because it's an excellent book. And I got that book and I read it, and it started this whole process for me of building new neural networks in my brain about relationships and why we behave the way that we do and why our partners respond the way that they respond. And I could see that my own attachment style, I was living it out both in terms of my relationships, my romantic relationships, as well as even my relationships with my kids and the way that I parent my children. And so when I am working with somebody, doing nervous system regulation work, so often, relationship dynamics come up, romantic relationship dynamics, because they can stress us out, right? And so when we're trying to heal, from chronic fatigue, long COVID, or any chronic health condition, or even when we're just trying to work on our nervous system health, understanding relationships is so helpful. So that process for me became this healing for myself, as well as something that I could carry into my work with other people and helping them understand their own nervous systems and why they do what they do. So when I started learning about attachment theory, it really opened my eyes to my own behavior. And so let's just do a brief overview of what attachment theory is. So attachment theory is it is a theory based on the idea that we are going to interact with our partners as adults much in the same way as we interacted with our primary caregiver as a child. So most often this research is done on very young children, so babies, toddlers, in relationship to their mothers. And what they found is that we carry that same kind of dynamic into our adult relationships. And so within attachment theory, typically there are 3 attachment styles: secure, anxious, and avoidant. And what they have found is that about 50% of the population is secure, and then the other 50% is split pretty evenly between anxious and avoidant. A secure person is secure within themselves. They don't need any external validation to feel safe. And also they are able to be close with somebody else and without feeling unsafe. So ultimately, it really is about safety. That's really the way that I look at it, especially from a nervous system regulation perspective. So what about anxious and avoidant? So the anxiously attached person feels safe when their attachment figure is very close. So as an adult, that is your partner. And the avoidantly attached person feels safe when they're kind of far away from their attachment figure. So what happens is that the anxious person comes close, the avoidant person pulls away, the anxious person comes close, the avoidant person pulls away. And it typically becomes this cycle of exacerbating one another's attachment styles. And so what is the solution to this? What you see and read and hear from attachment specialists is that the solution is nervous system regulation. So let's take an easy example. Let's say you are the anxiously attached party, and often this is the female in a heterosexual relationship, not always, but it is often the female, often the male is the avoidant. So let's say you are anxiously attached and you text your partner and they don't text you back right away. And what happens? You get anxious. And so what do? You text them again. I've definitely done this, and I know you have too. You text them again and they still don't respond. And so you text them again. What is the avoidant party feeling? The avoidant party is feeling overloaded, overwhelmed. They're feeling like this person needs too much from me and I can't give them everything they need. And so they pull away because they don't feel safe. And so what do you do as the anxious person? You text them again. And you just keep doing this, right? And then you get all upset with each other and you fight and, all this. And what does it really come down to? It's really about not feeling safe. So as you're healing this dynamic, if both people were aware of their attachment styles and were able to regulate their nervous systems when they felt unsafe, the dynamic would change, right? So as the anxiously attached person, when you text the person and they don't respond right away, you have to regulate your nervous system. So vagus nerve stimulation is an excellent way to do that. And as I was healing this dynamic, I would do that. If I felt like, okay, like I am feeling anxious because I'm not getting a response, or, I don't know, I start spinning, right? Your brain, what are they thinking and where are they going? And it's all about, for the anxiously attached person, typically it's fear of abandonment, right? So when you're feeling that anxiety, when you understand that this is the dynamic, and you know that you need to learn to regulate yourself and be safe within yourself, regardless of what the other person is doing, then the focus becomes about regulating the nervous system, and then you can have a conversation, right? So by using vagus nerve stimulation to regulate, then later you find out they were busy at work, right? So there are actually counselors that are doing this. I did some research on this, and I actually have some colleagues that are close to me in the area where I live that are counselors that I introduced to vagus nerve stimulation that are using it in their practice as well. But so with utilizing vagus nerve stimulation for couples counseling, this is being done so that because each party can be more resourceful if their nervous systems are regulated. So when you are discussing your need, for example, like, to be able to say, like, I need to be able to hear from you, within a, reasonable amount of time, just so that I know, like, how to go about my day. If it's something reasonable, like, I'm bringing the kids, and I just need to know if you're going to be, available at the time that I said when we're going to meet at, at your work or whatever. Then you can talk about it from a place of resourcefulness rather than from a place of fear, of anxiety, or, that fear of abandonment, and coming from an attacking place. So what they're doing in couples counseling when it comes to utilizing vagus nerve stimulation is having both people use the vagus nerve stimulation in a therapy session so that both people can talk from a more resourceful place, and they're not being triggered into their unhealthy dynamic as they're trying to problem solve and move forward. So you can imagine if you're looking at things from the perspective of anxious and avoidant attachment, the avoidantly attached person is feeling overwhelmed by the anxiously attached person's constant need for validation and closeness. And so if the anxiously attached person is regulated, they're using their vagus nerve stimulation, they're feeling more regulated, they're not coming toward the avoidantly attached person all the time. The avoidantly attached person also is regulated because they're using their vagus nerve stimulation, and they're not feeling so overwhelmed by the anxiously attached person's approaches. Then the dynamic begins to shift, and you're both able to change your behaviors and come close together and both feel safe in that closeness, as well as be apart and both feel safe in that separation. So this is really just an introduction to this topic. I would love to do more videos on this if that's of interest, so please do let me know if you'd like me to go more in depth on this. But really what I wanted to get across today is that always part of healing is changing the way that we think about things, right? So my process, in the beginning with vagus nerve stimulation, recovering from long COVID, it was really about just getting my nervous system calm, getting out of that sympathetic overdrive state, that sympathetic dominance within my nervous system, getting myself calm, getting myself back to my activities, my life. And then it was like, okay, now I need to start going a little deeper. I need to start looking at the way I think about things, the way I behave, my reactions, my responses to, my partner or my children, so that I continue in my growth process of keeping my nervous system regulated so that I don't go backwards. And so the vagus nerve stimulation has really become such an important tool for me in that process. Because I know how to do it. I know, that if I ask these questions, things start popping out at my brain. I see things that are the answers that I needed. I see the book I need. I see the podcast I need. I see the video I need, whatever it is, and then my brain grabs on to the information I need to start changing my perspective on that subject. And the vagus nerve stimulation is going to enhance that even further because it optimizes our neuroplasticity, right? Like I've talked about before. And looking at relationship dynamics from this perspective of attachment theory can really change how you relate to your partner and help you understand their behavior and your own behavior more. And as you heal that, then the dynamics become calmer and your relationship life becomes calmer. And that's part of your healing process too, right? So it's kind of this, it's regulate and learn and regulate and learn. And then you become more regulated more consistently because your behavior and your emotional health is improving and changing. So I hope that was useful. Please let me know if you would like for me to talk more about this topic. It's definitely something that I am excited about and that I love to talk to people about. If you get me on this topic when we're in a session and tell me to shut up if you need me to, but I love to talk about this kind of stuff because it's so important to our emotional health. Relationships are, our relationship with a partner is one of those primary, predictors of our health, our physical health and our emotional health. So thank you so much for being here, and keep commenting, keep being part of this community, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next one.